La la la, hey, 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 oh, ay, ay,
Empowered Health, a podcast shedding light on how healing is an inside job. Keys to your inner power and total transformation. Discussing wholeness, wellness, and the effects of the mind on the physical and energetic parts of our being. A podcast to support you, moving from fear and pain into wellness and purpose. Belief, hope, connection, energetic keystones for transformation and inner power. Sacred knowledge that inspires us to look within, to find our own unique path. Empowered Health, release and rewire to become what you truly are, strong, whole, and empowered.
Hi, everyone. This is Jane and Shell, your naturopathic doctors, here to inspire and support you on your journey.
Today we have Diane King. Diane was born in London. At 2 years old, she contracted an infection from the water and had to move back to London. She was not actually discharged from the hospital until the age of 16. The doctors did not know how to cure the kidney problem she had, and she was in the hospital every year of her life until then. Because of this, Diane started to investigate how to heal herself. At the age of 11, she ordered her first vitamins, and at 15, she began to investigate hypnotherapy. Welcome, Diane.
Hello, thank you for having me on here.
Welcome, Diane. That is
Hello,
one
Shell.
extraordinary childhood.
Yeah.
That does not sound easy, my friend.
Oh, I used to be so tired. We lived in Ghana. My dad was in the army, so we moved to Ghana when I was 5 months old. And then I contracted this water infection, they said it was, and we came back. And then I was under the paediatrician until I was 15, in and out of hospital. And at 15, the consultant at St Thomas's in London, he said, "We'll discharge you, but the kidney's scarred, it doesn't work, you won't have children." And that was it, basically.
So that's what you were told when you were discharged?
Yeah, and I mean, I used to be so tired when I was younger, all the time. And after I was discharged, before I was discharged, I was off school for a year, where I was just so ill.
Wow. So that led to an investigation of how to help yourself.
Yeah, I just ignored him, really, and just thought, I just started investigating. I bought lots of books, started reading, taking different vitamins, and I still do that, vitamins and minerals. And I do take some minerals that are classified as poison.
Like what?
Borax.
Okay.
And thunder god vine, sometimes I take that. Well, the root's poisonous, not the vine.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I went into recently, or a couple of years ago, I went to the opticians and I had this yellow film from the inside just up to the iris, just in the middle. And the optician, I don't know, he called it something, and he said it'd never go, it'd cover your iris. And I took no notice of him, but it did go, it's gone. So it's clear now. Yeah. I think that was the thunder god vine, I think did that. Yeah.
Wow.
So in every instant you said to you've said to us, I didn't listen, and you just went and did what was needed for you, which was empowering. Yeah.
So I've been on I've always taken one multivitamin that I got when I was 33, 34, and I still take it to this day because my kidney doesn't ache when I take that.
Yeah.
It seems to support it. And my partner, when he was away, he rang up and he said just recently, my finger's hurting, I might have rheumatoid arthritis. And I said, well, you've got them vitamins, take that. And it went in 2 days. So, because once the body gets what it needs, it doesn't break down, does it? It heals. And that goes for diet as well. When you feed the body with the correct nutrition, you don't keep wanting food because you want food. I know they do put addictive stuff in the food, but you want food because your body wants to be fed good nutrition. And so if you're not getting the good nutrition, you keep wanting more food.
That is so true. That is so true, because you can be ravenous and make yourself a delicious salad and you think this is not going to fill me up, but it does, because your body is satiated with all the vitamins and minerals, and it works.
You also approach this with the right mindset. So can you tell us about hypnotherapy and why it helps?
Well, hypnotherapy, when you're a child up until the age of 7, about 7, you're always in and out of that state of hypnotherapy. You're in and out of the beta and alpha waves. And, when I look at my grandchildren, sometimes they just stare into space and they absorb everything. Children absorb everything. And they also, what they're told goes into their head. They don't question it. So then after 7, they start questioning, well, why should I do that? Why should I do this? But you see, when it's gone into the mind and they don't question it, they put their own meaning to it. And that's when you get problems later on, because you're putting a meaning to it at that age. So the meaning is age appropriate. But it doesn't serve you when you get to 30 and you're still frightened of something or scared of something. Obviously there are other reasons, but so when you go in and change that meaning, when you acknowledge that and you understand, because the understanding is the power, when you understand that, you think, oh yeah, it didn't mean that, and you change it. And remember, you're in that calm state, so there's nothing to be frightened of, and then you put the new meaning on it. So it's the meaning you attach to a word with that emotion that causes the problems.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're programmed from 0 to 7 with all this information, and it develops circuits, and some of these circuits become even stronger because of emotion and become triggered even later in life we don't even realize why.
Yeah, and the subconscious is there every day. So them thoughts and feelings are there every day, even though they happened a long time ago. The subconscious mind thinks it's now. And the subconscious mind, when you're born, its main objective is to protect you, always. And it always protects you with what's familiar, because what's familiar has protected you before, so it's keeping you safe. So in your subconscious mind, you have all these knowns, which some are good, some are bad. And then once you go through the barrier from the subconscious down, from the conscious down to the subconscious, once you get through that barrier, you can go in and change it. It's like a software engineer. It's like your computer. So, I can't get in the computer at the moment. Can you call back because it's running a program?
Yeah.
So you go in and change that program, and then it runs okay. So it's the same sort of thing, really.
And it's you go in and change the programs that are causing trouble in one's life, or causing conflict constantly, or that kind of thing.
And a lot of the time, sorry.
Well, I'm just analyzing this information because I do see how, hypnotherapy has been useful in helping people with addiction and with depression. And, you know that it's linked back to this subconscious mind of maybe some childhood traumas or even just normal childhood experiences of, let's say, somebody's parent had postpartum and wasn't able to meet, you know, a very demanding baby's every need. Well, perhaps that baby, their subconscious mind has this idea of people don't meet my needs.
Yeah. So a lot of addiction and negative habits, usually from not a sense of belonging, because the AA, when they go to the AA, I think their success there is because not through so much the program, which I'm sure it does help, but it's because when people go there, they meet other people that the same thing has happened to. So they might meet someone that had a particular experience that they had. Oh, you're like me, so we like to be with people like me. So they find their own tribe, and therefore they belong. So it's like a connection as well, really.
That's true. There's a lot of success in having connection and having support and having a tribe. And with addiction, we often do see a lot of isolation.
Yeah, and they might have created that themselves in their mind, that isolation, mightn't they? Some people might create it, and perhaps it wasn't there, but their thought that they weren't really connected with their mum or their family, when perhaps that wasn't the case in some instances. It's what the meaning they attached to something. Yeah, it's just so complex, isn't it, really?
It is complex.
But when I did hypnotherapy, I thought, well, everyone should have hypnotherapy. Everyone should just sort out anything, even if it's trivial. I think you should all just have it cleared out. And what do they call it? Defragging, don't they, in a computer?
Yeah, defragging.
Yeah,
cleaning the slate, powering down and powering back up.
Yeah, I think,
rebooting.
Because we all imagine the perception of a small baby until you're 3. How many times your needs can't quite be met, and we could have this deep feeling for the rest of our life, like Shell said. My trauma came from not belonging to the tribe. And
did it?
Yeah, and as a homeopath, I became aware of this and fixed it with homeopathy. But I think, after I've taken many, many cases, I agree that a lot of our trauma comes from not feeling like we belong, or we're an outsider, or we're different, or we're
not worthy, or we have to completely change to belong to the group. That is many people's experience, that they can belong to a tribe, but not as their authentic self.
Yeah.
There's a lot of suppression to fit in to a particular group. And I think even that can be denying self.
Yeah, and when you're, for instance, with YouTube, when you're trying to set up your YouTube, so you just be yourself and not try and be someone else, because there'll be people that don't like you, but there'll be a lot of people that do like you, and they're the ones that connect with you. And that's how that works, isn't it? You connect with some people and not others.
So true. And the connection generally happens pretty easily if it's a good fit.
And if you're being your authentic self. So, because then you find who belongs to your, I always describe it as when I try to explain it to kids, that you're like a piece of a puzzle. And the whole puzzle can't be complete unless you're who you really are, your authentic self, because you have to be that individual piece to fit. And then it makes a picture of the whole, and you can see how everything's connected. So Diane, can you give us an example of when you had hypnotherapy, or maybe a couple of patients' experiences of how it helped them or yourself?
When I first had hypnotherapy, I was 15 or 16. It was I wanted to experience it, and I used to bite my nails, and so I wasn't really fussed about that. But I said I want to stop biting my nails. And it was the guy that I actually ended up learning with. So I took my mum with me, and she sat outside, and I just thought he had hypnotic eyes, and I was gone. So I was like gone, and I don't remember anything, to be honest, because I just thought he was magic, and it was just the eyes. But obviously we've come a long way from that now. So I thought it was wonderful. That was my experience. But I had a guy that he was training, he was at college to be an actor, going through college to go on stage. And he was really good, and he did his own photography and stuff. And then the tutor that he got on well with shouted at him this time and belittled him. And he went home, and he didn't come out for months out of his room. He didn't go out at all. He left the college. The college wrote and said that he owed X amount of money, and he got advice and said, well, you didn't help me, you didn't offer me any help. And they retracted it, because really they should have given him some advice, sent him to see someone at the college, like pastoral help or something. And he wanted to get back in it, but he couldn't. And so we did CBH, which is cognitive behavioural hypnotherapy. Instead of the CBT, it's with the hypnotherapy. So you just get them into a relaxed, calm state, and then he was seeing himself and the tutor talking to him or shouting at him. But because he's in the calm state and she's doing that, you can't have two conflicting emotions at the same time. And so it diffuses it, it takes the negative charge out of it. And so he said to me about a week later or 2 weeks, he saw her in the high street, and it had no effect on him. So he's since gone back to acting. So that was, I think he had 2 sessions. Yeah, went back. So that was like an anxiety with it. And he doesn't know why it affected him so much. But I think there were some connections to his childhood as well that we went through. But basically, yeah, so when you're in the relaxed state and you face that fear from a relaxed state, and if it's really traumatic, you can view it, you're not actually reliving it. You can put a meaning on it, and you can understand it and take the charge away, that emotional charge away. So my partner, I hypnotised him for golf, and did his MP3, which I was surprised he listened to, because you know what it's like with family, probably don't really take it as serious, do they? So anyway, he told me all the words about golf and stuff and what he wanted to work on. And they put the scores onto, he said, oh, I'm doing really well. And they put the scores onto this, into this app, and it shows you a graph. And so obviously the lower you go, the better. So he's just gone, he's dipped right down. His scores come right down. And even the youngsters that he plays with said, how come you're hitting that ball so straight and so hard? And they keep watching his fingers, and they're going, oh, he's doing this and he's doing that. But I put a trigger in, I think, to, I can't remember what I did, but I'm surprised he's still listening.
That's fantastic. So
But he's playing well.
People can use hypnotherapy to release traumas, as well as to improve their performance, release addiction. The one thing that I found curious that you said, which I experienced too when I was hypnotized, is that you go into a state where you don't remember. Can you explain what that is all about?
Well, you might have gone into a somnambulism state, or you might have gone to sleep, which really isn't ideal because you want to hear the suggestions. And sometimes you talk to someone in hypnotherapy. Well, I talk to them in hypnotherapy and they answer back. So, it's kind of a two-way thing as well. And if they go to sleep, it's fine when you're going to sleep at night because you go through the awake to a sleep state. And in between that is when the breakdown between the conscious and the subconscious. So it goes in. That's why they have them tapes that you can listen to for learning a language or, affirmations and stuff. Because when it goes in as you're going to sleep, it will go into your subconscious mind. But it can work when you're asleep, but really you need someone to be in that state, kind of like the alpha state, where you're aware of what's going. You can hear what's going on, but you're kind of not aware of your body. And obviously you've got your breathing, so you're at like a meditative state. Mm-hmm. So you're at a really relaxed state with your mind and your body.
And you were saying that we could even take ourselves through a self-hypnosis? Is that correct?
You can. Yeah, you can by breathing, rolling your eyes up as if they're going in the back of your head. And then you see your eyes fluttering and you're going into a state of hypnosis. You're going into alpha. And then you can just breathe. You slow your breathing down. And then you can just take yourself down steps. If you don't like steps, you can step along a pathway. And then obviously you've determined what you're going to work on. And you take yourself through like that. But doing that, you're getting yourself into that state and working on something. And then you gradually, once you've gone through that, you can do it in 5 minutes as well. It doesn't have to be long, because sometimes if it's lengthy, it puts people off. So you could go down into that state, and perhaps it's just a word that you have that will create the whole meaning of something you want to work on. Like Chinese have their alphabet or their words. A word is like a picture, and it means it can mean like a whole story, can't it? Mm-hmm. So you could have a word to keep it short for yourself. You could have something, a word, a feeling that means something to you. It might mean being confident going on stage or something, or you might just see yourself going on stage, or it might be the step that you take onto the stage, something for you. And that's all it is, really. And then you bring in that feeling of, so you could take a feeling from when, if it was confidence, you could take a feeling from when you felt confident, or the most confident you ever felt, and people applauded you, and you felt great. You really, you felt a sense of achievement, and you can remember that feeling, and you can take that feeling with you to the new situation, how you want to be. You can take that there, so you can sort of like superimpose that feeling.
And you do this with your eyes closed, but looking up with a rapid
eye initially
movement?
Yeah, because when you look up like that, right at the back, your eyes start to
quiver,
flutter. Yeah. And that's just showing you that you're going into hypnosis, and then you just gradually close them. But you can do it with the deep breathing. I mean, you do the deep breathing as well, but the deep breathing slows everything down as well and gets you into alpha. But if you look at children when they're going to sleep, usually their eyes will roll up. They start to roll up. and they're going into alpha.
And this alpha brainwave is
It's a
where
relaxed,
it's
yeah,
a relaxed state,
yeah,
where
you can
retrain
open up.
the subconscious mind.
Yeah, so you can get through the barrier like the gatekeeper. So that becomes open, and then you can get through and put in suggestions.
Yeah, and that gatekeeper's like what the layer between the conscious and the unconscious mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a
So
wall.
some people might go for a drive, and you become, because you said earlier, Shell, that you couldn't be hypnotized, or you thought you couldn't be hypnotized, but you do it all the time. You do it every day. So you do it before you go to sleep. You're in that hypnotic state because you're drifting off before you wake up. If you're engrossed in a movie or something on the TV, someone could come in the room and walk past you and you wouldn't see them. Or someone could call you, or if you're engrossed in a book. Sometimes when you're driving and you get from A to B and then you think, oh, I don't remember getting here. So you go off into that, or you daydream, you're kind of going off into that state. You're calming the mind, aren't you? The analytical mind. So you haven't got all that chatter. And that's what they, like with transcendental meditation, I try and do that. And just think of nothing. I set my phone for 20 minutes and I try and think of nothing. And if thoughts come in, I go back and I just think Om, because it doesn't mean anything. It's a word with no meaning. I just think Om, and then I just think of nothing. And the more you push them thoughts away, the less more intrusive thoughts are coming that you don't want. So it's just making your mind stronger to reject the thoughts, because I do think thoughts can be put into your head.
Yeah. I've trained myself recently, and because you become aware of this through, what we do and homeopathy and therapy and the unconscious mind, I've trained myself, like, how you can get into this loop where you're ruminating on something and you're in this fear state, and I can actually say to myself, let's rewire this right now and get out of it. But it comes with awareness.
Yeah.
And we often talk about, like, because of what Shell's gone through, every time you go to the oncologist, there's like, you go into the state of, it's depressing and it's fearful because of what they tell you in that moment. And you have to pull yourself out of that every time. Is there a method that Shell and others that go, and it's traumatizing,
To hear bad news, to hear hopeless statistics, that your mind, it absorbs the information, and then I think it does have a physical effect. It has a physical effect when somebody tells you you're not going to get better. And you experience that, I'm sure, as a child, of just being in the hospital from an early age up until your teenage years. You were kind of perhaps getting mixed messages of whether you would get better. And that's a great question. Like, can hypnotherapy help people rewire kind of some devastating news and stay optimistic?
Yeah, because so each person's different. When I hypnotize someone, I take them back, depending on their issue. Well, not depending, whatever their issue is, we take them back to a time that their subconscious is taking them back to, where this issue started. So we do that a couple of times. And then all the time, there is something there that triggered that. And it might not be what you think. But also, I think as well, writing in a journal, I always think of writing a story because you get engrossed in it. And so when I write in my journal, my manifestation journal, I write little sentences as stories because you're thinking about it and you're getting engrossed in it. And so have you heard of sigils?
No.
So sigils are, it's called sigil magic. So sigils are, you take your desired outcome, and then you take, I can't remember how it works, you take the consonants out and this out, repeating letters, and then you make a symbol out of what's left. And this is kind of what I was saying about what something means to you, a word means to you. So this symbol means this outcome to you. And you can either burn it or you look at it and you know what it means, and then it will manifest. So one of the people that does this is, his name is Grant, I can't think of his name. He writes the comic magazines. He's Scottish, Superman and stuff like that. And he does it so when he's writing it, things will happen to him. He wanted a girlfriend at the time, and he was doing this character that was blonde and everything, and these women kept coming to him that was blonde, but then they didn't really have any brains, so he kind of put a few more brains in the cartoon he was drawing. But it's the same principle. It's still the mind going to that, the thought, but if you write the story, if you start writing a story, you become engrossed in that, don't you? You start to feel it and see it and experience it, and an awareness of it becomes real, and you step into that. So last year I started studying Neville Goddard. I don't know if you've heard of him. Mm-hmm. He died in 71, 72, something like that. You can get his stuff free you can buy his books, or you can get free downloads of him. But that's kind of the same as hypnosis. So you drop a state and become a new state, because you are, I am who I am, and I create my reality. And so everything around me is what I'm projecting out. And if you want to project out a different world, you go inside the Father within, and you create your own vision of what you want, and you use all your senses. So you could be rocking, if you wanted a rocking chair, you could be rocking on the chair with a glass that was cold with water in it, or your favourite drink in it, and someone could be talking to you saying, oh, I love that rocking chair. It can be short scenes, it could be a new job, it could be someone shaking your hand at work, and you just really get into that scene. And then when it becomes familiar, you sort of drop it, and you're in that state because you've made it your awareness.
It's that whole principle of what you think about, you bring about.
Yeah, because everything in your world, every person in your world is a reflection of something within you. And sometimes it's hard to figure that out, but they are reflecting back to you something within you, and perhaps it's something you want to work on. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah. And those times in your life where you have someone that's quite difficult in your life, and then you decide no more, that I'm done with that. Do you think that's a healing within yourself, so that you
because you're not giving it a charge, are you? You're not letting it in, you're not accepting it. Mm-hmm. Because all the time you're accepting it. And you might find as well that people drop away from you, mm-hmm. different people, and then other people come into your life. And so as you go through life, people that come in, not necessarily what you need, but perhaps it's what you're experiencing at that time. But I also feel as well, vitamins, minerals and stuff, for health and everything really works. So my daughter, when she's 36 now, so she was 23, 24, about that age, I think. And the smear test had come back negative, and they said there was something there. I don't know what they'd done, not an X-ray, something else. It was ultrasound, yeah. And then she had to go to the consultant. So I said to her, take bicarbonated soda. Because at the time I'd read that this Italian doctor, he was an oncologist, and he couldn't understand why all these people were dying when years ago they were getting better of cancer, and all he was giving them, it was intravenously, it was bicarbonated soda. So I said to her, I'll take bicarbonated soda, just a little fingernail of it. So she drank that twice a day, just put a bit in a tumbler of water. So when she went to see the oncologist, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks before she went, there's nothing there. And she said to me, she's pretty good because she always does what I say. Well, not when she was a teenager, but like things like that. And she said, oh, do you think it was the bicarbonated soda? I said, don't know, who knows? It doesn't really matter, does it?
Yeah.
Whether it was the thought that the bicarbonated soda worked, or it was the bicarbonated soda.
Mm-hmm. I mean, scientifically, we have proven placebo.
Yes.
Which is actually the power of the mind, the power of the belief of the thought.
Yeah.
It's the definition of placebo.
Yeah. Yeah. But there is that definitely two sides to healing. Caring and looking after the physical, and caring and looking after the mind. And they're almost inseparable, I think that's what you're saying, Shell. It's that you need to really look after both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Because,
sorry?
Well, and because we are biochemical beings, we do need vitamins and minerals to perform our biochemical reactions.
And water.
And vitamin D and sunshine and all of these things. So another question we have is, we see in medicine and even in relationships all the time that, you can be aware of something but not ready to implement it. So many times people will say, oh, I really need to start exercising, but yet they don't get doing it. Is that something hypnotherapy could help them with, like removing that damaging belief that prevents them from gaining some momentum in their actions?
Yeah, because it may be someone that's procrastinating, could be something from their childhood. It could be something simple, and once it's resolved, they're fine. You don't really know the reason. It could be that, but also someone has got to want to do it. So if some people do things, some people might be overweight because it's a secondary gain. Perhaps they don't want to have sex with their husband, so they want to be repulsed, To them, it may seem repulsive. I'm not saying that overweight people are, but, they may have that. Or someone might have not seek help all the way, really research something if they've got some debilitating illness that could probably be helped with forms of therapy, but perhaps they don't go after that because they get cared for and everyone waits on them and looks after them. So if someone said, oh, look, here's I'm going to pay for my wife to stop smoking or lose weight, But they might come and go, I really like smoking, I really like being over, I don't want to lose weight. So they're not going to. So the person's got to really want to do it. But if the person really wants to do it and they can't, I've actually got someone that I've just finished seeing that wants to really give up smoking. They meditate. They have a business meditating. And they've got some childhood issues. So we've worked through that and connections and stuff. And they've been listening to the MP3 because it's important to listen to that for 21 days at least.
What MP3?
Oh, a recording of hypnotherapy that I've done.
Okay.
For the particular client. Yeah, for their issues. And after 21 days, that's when you're starting to rewire the new habit or the new belief that you want. And then the other one can atrophy and just shrivel away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important that you do it for at least, do it until it becomes a habit. So you essentially replacing a habit with another habit. And that's kind of like as well with the meditating, isn't it? Like you were saying, Jane, about pushing thoughts away. So, you're making that a habit. Oh, and you're aware of it. Oh, I'm going to stop that and have something else come in or not come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find when my patients don't want to, lose the weight or do something that's actually good for them, when I give a homeopathic remedy, somehow it aligns them with more of their authentic self and they become more loving toward themselves. And that seems to be the first step. Then they tell me that they want to do things and pursue and are, on board for what's next. But yeah, getting to those core subconscious beliefs that are stopping it. Really
if someone wants, if someone's stopping doing something and wants to do it once, I think sometimes that's where a coach helps to get them going, because once they start, I think, oh yeah, I feel good, or that's good, and then they do it again, and then once they've kind of got into the swing of it, they but then saying that a coach, if they had hypnotherapy, then they'd have a MP3, they've gone through it, and so they got something to work towards. So I think that helps a lot of times, don't you? That I think as well, people like to feel that whether they've paid someone or someone else is helping them, that someone's on their side. They've got kind of like a cheerleader, that someone's helping. If someone comes to you, they know that they've got you to just bounce something off until they're on their way. That's helping them. Someone's helping them.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important for people to hear that it takes 21 days. That's 3 weeks of doing something that's not going to feel good, that's not going to feel familiar, that's not going to feel normal. It's like going through a bad breakup and having to just block that person. It doesn't feel good initially. It takes a lot of discipline to just, try a different pattern. And then, at 3 weeks, then you're at your first day of it, actually maybe feeling okay, like your new normal.
Yeah.
So encouraging people, try something and allow yourself to be challenged for at least 3 weeks before you evaluate it.
Yeah, and I like the idea of support, getting yourself support through that until it becomes normal. Like in homeopathy, we dose when you fall backwards, but to have like the coach or, so it can't, you do have to get yourself this support system somehow. I like what you're saying there, Diane.
And they're making you accountable, aren't they? And that's why programs work, like the accountability document and stuff that we was on. And so, it pushes you.
And hanging around with people who you want to emulate, I think, is important. Like If you want to be fit, joining a running group, or joining a yoga class, or, you know, being around people who you want to be like, even if you're not like that in the current moment. I think that
Definitely.
will propel you forward too.
Definitely. Yeah. So that's interesting because was it 1999? So the particular vitamin that I always take, and so I'm always taking vitamins, but my sister-in-law, so she commented when I was ill, I had viral meningitis and I was in hospital, and she said, I'm not surprised she takes all those blooming pills and things. And I thought, oh, that's just like typical of her. She's really unhealthy. She's diabetic. And yeah. But, you know, that's getting back to I didn't hang around with her. But,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people, if they're going to be disrespectful, or, you know, they're not going to just acknowledge that's what you're doing and saying, yeah, fair enough. But some people want to put you down. And that's where it changes, doesn't it, when people fall away from you because you're not fitting, you've not got the same energy as you perhaps did have. Say it's when you're younger and you all go out and you've changed, so you don't want to do that anymore. You'll still go out, but perhaps you're not drinking. Well, you don't always fit in then, and they don't see you as the same. And so the dynamics change, doesn't it? And I think that goes for everything. You know, if someone's not supportive.
That is so true, because I've seen people who come to me to get better, and it's actually their relationships at home are their biggest obstacles to cure, because they don't want to eat better, feel better, do better, because they're not going to fit with the people they love.
Yeah, and that's a big one, isn't it? Because you're in the home and they're people you love. And so, yeah, that is really hard, isn't it?
But the really strange thing is, sometimes when you get to the subconscious belief of why this exists in your world, like you say, everything exists as a reflection of you. Sometimes when you get to that place, the people around you actually change, and it's not them that changed, it's actually you that changed, and your reflection has changed, which I find fascinating.
Explain that, Jane. Explain that. You know a lot about this.
Well, I've seen that happen when I've given a homeopathic remedy that changed the subconscious belief of, like you say, rewired it. And then they'll say to me, oh, my husband has changed. He's now so nice. And, you know, he now supports my workouts and all this. And I know that it's not his sudden change. It's the fact that she has changed within, and now the reflection outside is different. So it's fascinating how this can happen. Yeah.
So
that can happen.
You can actually change your environment, because now, let's say you're no longer judging and being harsh to yourself. Now you're no longer judging and being harsh to your family, and all of a sudden there's just more of a natural cohesion.
Yeah, that, and somehow it's like our reality somehow morphs or changes when our really deep belief systems change. So the very way we're looking at it changes, and that affects the person, the people that are with us or in our close vicinity.
Yeah, it does, because that's our energy field. Our energy field, how far does it expand? Our heart energy field. I know it can expand into next door.
Right.
It can expand quite a way. And so people around you start to come into sync with you. It's like women, if you get women all together, they start to menstruate at the same time, don't they? The cycle, it all starts going at the same time. I learnt the Heart Math Institute. Do you go on there? Yeah, so Greg Braden talks about that. and about vibration. And
Yeah.
he mentions it with a guitar, and you strum one string and then the guitar over the other end starts strumming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This vibrational link.
Mm.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's with thoughts as well, because people that you're close to, they start to, I know we do, and I did with my husband, and that you'd start thinking the same thoughts.
Right.
But what my partner does now, sorry?
Finishing each other's sentences.
Yeah, or putting thoughts in your head. And sometimes I know we've started messing about with things, and I'll say something, and he said, wondered when that was going to happen, like go and make a drink or something. Or something silly. But
it's interesting too, because if we go back to Jane's trauma of feeling cast out or not a sense of belonging, and I think many of us have felt that way, but I know when I feel that way and I go into a group of people, I naturally act very inhibited and withdrawn and uninterested. So it's almost like these beliefs become our reality. Whereas, I've played around with this myself, where I'm going into a party and I've got a bit of social anxiety, and I say, every single person here is my best friend and they love me as much as I love them. And I go in and there's such an ease and there's such a connection with that belief. So it's very important to align our thoughts with how we want to be living, how we want to be experiencing our relationships and our health and our world.
Yeah, and in fact, Diane, you said be aware of the thoughts you think and the words you say to yourself, because your body will literally flinch or blossom depending on what you're saying. Can you expand on that?
Definitely. Well, I noticed that with I did aromatherapy in 2000, and I noticed that with giving the massage and depending what oils you use, I noticed on the skin you could see it react. You could see some parts of it pulse. And I know when I go to hairdressers, and the best bit I love is they're pulling their hair underneath at the base of the skull. They go, what would you like to do? And I think I'll just do that all day. I just love it. It just sends a tingling through your body. So that's like the touch sensation, because the skin's very, very reactive, isn't it, to touch? And like muscle testing, which, do you do that, muscle testing?
I do. Do you?
I do, but yeah,
and I think if you had a thought, I think it works with thoughts as well, with muscle testing. But yeah, the thoughts you. So I never realised that, the saying, they died of a broken heart.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I never thought it was literal until my husband died 13 years ago. And he had this heart condition. It was called Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome. And we was often be at the hospital, because what it is, it's like atrial fibrillation, but he had 100 different electrical pathways. So he was heavily medicated to control it. And he had operations, ablations, but they didn't work. But his mum and dad died unexpectedly within 5 months of each other. And his ex-wife died as well. So they all died within 3 to 6 months of each other. So when we went to see the consultant, his heart was playing up again, and they admitted him. And the consultant said to him, have you had trauma? And he said, no, he didn't. He wouldn't have called that trauma, even though it was. He said, no, I can't think of anything. He said, oh, it's really strange. He said, because you have tremors around the heart. And that's usually associated with the death of someone close, or something that's affected you emotionally. He said, and we need to sort that out because you can die from that. And I thought, oh, that's death of a broken heart. And he was broken-hearted, you know, but it was the tremors. And I thought, oh, that's real then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So emotion actually changes our physical body, or can scar it.
Yeah. And so the thoughts that affect our body and make our organs weep is the meaning we've attached to it. And it creates an emotion, doesn't it? You know, when you can be so emotional, you can feel it in your stomach. Or, I get a lot of tension. I don't know why I get it, and that's one reason why I exercise. I know it's healthy, but it makes me exercise to release the tension in my back. And I take magnesium for that, really helps. But that's thoughts, because I'm doing so many different things that then I suddenly kind of start to get anxious. Oh, what shall I do? Shall I finish this? Shall I do this and that? And I think it has, even though I don't feel anxious, but it starts to have an effect in your body, doesn't it?
Yeah, your body actually flinches, like you were saying. You can feel the tension. And then a blossoming thought would be loving and exciting, and, you know, like this image that you were telling people to feel or see, it would contain that would allow them to blossom into something physically healthy and mentally healthy.
I love the thought, the best is yet to come, you know, because a lot of people think, especially as they get older and they've had all of these wonderful milestones, that there's not much left. And I feel like that really helps people open themselves to the idea that the best is yet to come. There's still more living, there's still more learning, there's still more loving, healing, forgiving, experiencing to do if we're alive.
Definitely, because if they give up, then they give up, don't they? They die. And that happens to people that retire because they don't feel they have a purpose, do they? And that's why it's important, I think, like you were saying, to keep on learning, to keep on having something going. Probably not as many things that I have, but you know.
But to keep that excitement, you know, that
joy for getting out of bed, that excitement for waking up and starting your day, whatever that may be.
Yeah, you've got to have a purpose.
Diane, we ask everyone that we interview how you would approach the news if you were given a diagnosis with 2 years to live.
Gosh. I would probably, I mean, I don't know because I've never had that, but I would probably walk out and start doing what I normally do, and then perhaps start doing something else. I don't think I would think about it. And if it was something that I didn't physically have the effects of whatever it was I was going to die of, but they did start to appear, I would start looking at, or if I knew what it was, obviously I would know what it was, I would start looking at alternative therapies, how to help myself. I would really knuckle down on the meditation and self-hypnosis myself. I would just do that and not accept it. I just refuse it. I just wouldn't do it.
And why would you go to hypnosis? Because
I'd practice it more Because it changes your mind. It changes. So your mind isn't here, it's out there. And I think that we attract in, and we have this energy field which is already happening before it gets to the body. So I would probably, and actually this is what I do. I look at so I do Reiki healing, but I don't do it professionally anymore. I usually do it on my partner. But what I do on my daughter, so he has diverticulitis. So I have a picture. I haven't got it. I've got the book here somewhere. It's a kid's the organs of the body. So I have a look at I know it now. I have a look at the large intestine and the small intestine. And then I have a look at that and all the things around it. And then when I'm healing, I have the vision of that. And then when I've just got it in my mind and everything, I offer it up to the universe. And he always feels better. He goes, oh, I feel better after that. Yeah, that's what I do. And I would probably do that.
What do you mean you offer it up to the universe for healing?
I just, because we're connected, and I was telling them, this is me, so that's the mirror of me. You put it back in me. It's just kind of what I do in my head. I offer it up, and by offering it up to me, it means that it's going to be in the physical body. That's just what I do. Yeah. Or I extract things out and they go up, because when I do healing, I see like sparkles of energy. And then I just send that up away to be diffused. Yeah.
It's kind of beautiful, for anyone suffering from illness to just think that they can, kind of energetically release this from their body, visualize releasing that, healing that, whatever image resonates, whether it's water, whether it's a color, whether it's a word, symbol.
Exactly. It's whatever has
energy, whatever is truly powerful, meaningful for them.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. I always say, if hugging a tree makes you feel good and works for you, do it. If you don't think it does and whatever, don't do whatever is right for you. And that's what works, isn't it? It's always the image that you see, that you say to yourselves, and the words. And words have a meaning. And words have a meaning to you, what you put on them, don't they?
And words have a vibration, a healing vibration.
Yeah. Yeah. And it all fits together, doesn't it? It all synchronizes together.
Well, if you think of imagining someone and you say, oh, she's blossoming, or oh, she's full of light. Why is that? Because we're made of photons of light and water, and that person would be in a state of excitement and joy and vibrancy and health. But yeah, and so important, as opposed to this contraction and, as you said, the opposite, which leads you to flinching and contraction and and that is what causes disease. So whatever it is that you need to do to keep yourself in the state of blossoming is so important.
And it contracts your energy field, doesn't it? So it's coming in. And like you were saying, once it starts opening up and you're blossoming, and what is it? It's Tai Chi, isn't it? When you bring the energy back in, or Qigong.
Bring
Bring it back in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I do that sometimes. You can just feel it, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Re-energizing. And
Yeah.
our energy can change in an instant. So we don't have to be locked into these negative belief systems. We can do hypnotherapy and then keep at it for 21 days and continually feed ourselves with these blossoming.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Joe Dispenza says that you can change, or the Heart Math Institute, I think, say that you can change the neurological pathway quicker than 21 days, depending on the strength of the emotion you attach to it.
Right.
And that's what it is. It's the emotion. It's always the emotion you attach to the word, the meaning and the emotion that gives it the charge.
Yeah. So to give it the charge of positive, you would use these more words of light and joy and freedom and expansion.
Even listening to songs can bring up an emotion. If that's a good emotion, you can think, I'm going to take that emotion and have it with me all day. So it doesn't have to be, just because it brought that emotion up a long time ago. You can transfer it to something else, make you feel good, bring you up.
Very good. Diane, what kind of hypnotherapy is it that you do? Just if our listeners wanted to find something that was similar or...
Just hypnotherapy, a clinical hypnotherapist.
Yeah.
I do. I'm a hypnotherapist, psychotherapist, but the psychotherapy part is because we do the talking first, and then, but the talking is in hypnosis. So yeah, it's just hypnotherapy.
Okay, very good. Yeah. Nice. And you have a podcast?
I have a podcast called the Black Egg Podcast, which is, I've put some self-hypnosis, how to do self-hypnosis, and a meditation, and I have a couple of interviews on there.
I cannot wait to listen to that, Diane. The Black Egg Hypnosis
Podcast.
The Black Egg Podcast, yeah.
Black Egg Podcast.
Okay.
And in that, there's some self-hypnosis techniques that people can go and listen to. And do you also have a website?
Yeah, dianekinghypnotherapy.com.
Very good.
If you want any help, Shell, you can always contact me.
I would love that. I would love that. Thank you for offering that.
That's great.
Thank you, Diane, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We just wish to acknowledge the beautiful information you brought forward. And I want to say to all our listeners, don't give away your power to anyone else.
Just go be you.
Definitely. Thank you.